7 minutes past the hour now. The debate's going on right now in California over Prop 19 about legalizing marijuana for recreational use. We've got leading spokespeople right now for both sides of this issue. I want to bring in Roger Salazar. He's a spokesman for the group spearheading the fight against Prop 19. And then on the other side, Dale Sky Jones joins us. She's in favor of the proposal. They joined me both this morning. Thank you guys both for being here. Ms. Jones, let me start with you. Is the argument for legalizing marijuana for recreational use, is it primarily for you an economic argument?
Well, frankly, current policy has failed across the board, and we have an opportunity to have safer communities if we simply choose to control, tax, and regulate cannabis for adult use. This will also allow us to finally regulate medical effectively, which we have not yet been able to do here in California, as far as the interpretation of whether or not storefront sales are legal. So this will also help protect medical patients that are still, in fact, going to jail. And it's about jobs.
Well, Ms. Jones, how does, you said that it make the communities safer. How does it do so, in your estimation?
Cannabis is currently more accessible to our children than alcohol, than any other drug on the street. And we've put full control in the hands of our criminals. We need to take it out of the hands of criminals, take away their profit margins, which are estimated at over 60% due to illegal marijuana sales. We need to take that out of the hands of criminals and put it into the hands of our cities and counties and even our state legislature to regulate, control, and tax. Make sure that we're not selling it to children under 21. Also, we're banning smoking in front of kids and smoking in public. Okay,
are we shifting that profit margin you speak of? We're shifting it from the criminals, like you say. Are we shifting it then to other folks, to the legal people who have a license to sell it, and also to the government? And I guess what keeps a kid who is 17, 18, I know it's supposed to be only 21 that you can smoke, but getting a 21-year-old, an adult, to go buy it for you legally, that sounds like pretty easy access for a kid as well.
Well, frankly, it's easier now, right? You know, what you're suggesting is similar to alcohol, where, you know, frankly, you have to go in and convince an adult, as you said, but right now you just walk around to the back of that 7-Eleven or convenience store, and you'll find 4 people that are willing to sell it to you, not ID you, and then turn around and offer you more drugs. Much of this gateway theory that has been completely debunked by the Institute of Medicine, the World Health Organization, the Schaefer Commission, and the American Medical Association, the gateway theory is a theory of politics, not science. The real gateway is that these dealers are offering our kids more drugs when they're behind that convenience store.
Well, Roger, let me bring you in here. It sounds like, hey, what's wrong with that? It sounds like you would put drug dealers out of business.
Well, look, you know, the concern that we have is that all of the things that Dale just talked about, you know, that controlling, taxing, and regulating marijuana, those things, you know, unfortunately, this initiative doesn't do those things. It leaves you know, it leaves it up to a patchwork of 536 different local jurisdictions to come up with their own sort of systems for how they're going to deal with these things. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, the Board of Equalization in California did an analysis of how much revenue could be generated from Proposition 19, and they said they can't figure it out because there isn't a statewide system. Unlike alcohol, you know, this would be different than alcohol because you wouldn't have a statewide regulatory body controlling the entire system, and in fact, it'll make it a lot easier for folks to get access to it. Look, you know, if this drug is one of the things that the RAND study showed us was that, you know, the only thing that's certain about Proposition 19 is that drug use is going to go up. I mean, if you make it legal and more accessible to people, it's just all but guaranteeing that youth drug use is going to go up, and that's not something anybody wants.
Well, Roger, I want to ask, you laid out an argument for how, I mean, how are we going to get this together, get a system in place, a regulatory system in place, and your concerns there.
Right.
Are you concerned that what we've been told our whole lives, don't smoke weed, it's now going to be okay? California is telling everybody it's okay and it's legal to smoke weed. Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah, there is a very strong concern about that. Again, the RAND analysis said that you know, that usage would double, would go back to 1970s levels, and that's something I think that you know, let's not kid ourselves. That's something that the proponents of Proposition 19 want. You know, these are folks with you know, big marijuana operations here in California. The person who pushed this initiative, Ms. Jones's employer, you know, put $1.5 million of his own money to try and push for this thing because he's going to generate a tremendous profits from this thing. So let's make no mistake about it. They want use to go up. They want usage. They believe that this is a benign drug. They think that you should be able to use it just like caffeine and coffee, smoke a little to take the edge off. They're not interested in the traffic safety concerns that we have, the public safety concerns that we have, or the revenue concerns that we have, that, this thing won't be able to generate the revenue that it claims that it will.
Ms. Jones, I have to let you respond. He did make a direct accusation there that your employer, as he said, and others on your side have a financial stake in this.
Indeed, it's unfortunate that we continue on with the disingenuous remarks, not only about my employer, who does not have any personal stake. In fact, it's really up to the cities and counties to opt in to regulation of medical or adult, or in fact, finally, the hemp market, which is a non-psychoactive version of the plant that will finally offer food, fiber, and clothing. Mr. Lee has no direct involvement, and it's unfortunate that we turn to personal slander. The truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, we are following the same path as what we followed to dismantle alcohol prohibition, which was county by county opt-in. And we have that same opportunity. Cities and counties operate on a patchwork throughout this country. In fact, California works with concealed weapons permits in the same way. So the scare tactics on county by county don't concern me, because the locals know what's most important to their community. We're looking at over $300 million in savings from law enforcement alone, and we're estimating $1.4 billion in taxes, and Mr. Salazar will say that that's not to do with our initiative. However, Tom Amiano's already got it on the table. He's an assemblyman in California to control cannabis through the ABC.
Hey, go ahead and respond there, Mr. Salazar, because I know there are some concerns there. We have this bill, if it's passed, or Prop 19, if it's passed, you still leave it up to the legislature to figure out how to work all this stuff out.
Again, it's a backward system, because here's what's going to happen. Again, the states, the counties and the cities would have to opt in, as she mentioned. They'd have to figure out whether or not they want to regulate the sales of marijuana. They have to figure out how they're going to set up a taxation system after marijuana has already been legalized. The things that will be legal, whether the cities opt in or not, and regardless of where you live, you'll still be able to use marijuana. You'll still be able to possess it. You'd still be able to transport it. You'd still be able to grow it, and you still do all those things without paying taxes on them, and without having to have any sort of control over those things. And then the cities can come in and regulate those things. But again, it's a backwards approach, and I don't think it's one Californians
Ms. Jones, I want to ask you this, just as simple as possible here. What are we saying to our kids in this country if we have been telling them, I mean, since I was a kid, since all of us were kids, to stay away from drugs? We've been told that marijuana is a drug. And now we're going to say to them, it's legal and it's okay to smoke marijuana. What are we sending as a message to young folks?
Well, we're actually finally being honest with our young folks and getting our integrity back by explaining the true dangers of cannabis, and also the fact that you need to wait till you're 21, just like other regulated items.
Do you see them as dangers of cannabis, Ms. Jones? Do you see there being dangers of marijuana? Yes, there are. Okay.
The dangers, frankly, in cannabis is safer than alcohol. I want to make sure that we understand that cannabis cannot kill you. So giving adults a safer choice is a good thing. But at the end of the day, children should not be using it, and it's important to control it away from children. By voting yes on Prop 19, the voters of California have an opportunity to strike a larger blow at the criminal cartels than any law enforcement effort ever could. And it's carefully crafted, so I suggest that people read it to see how it interacts with other laws, protects drug driving, makes sure cops have the right.
Go ahead and wrap it up for me, Mr. Salazar.
Yeah, I would say the one thing that Ms. Jones and I agree with is that people should read this initiative, and I think that once they look at it, they'll see that one of the things that this initiative does is it puts into place special protections, basically a civil right for marijuana users that prevent employers, especially those who are involved in transportation issues, from drug testing employees before they get behind the wheels of vehicles and before they come onto the job. It's one of the reasons that the Chamber of Commerce and the school administrators, cops, and sheriffs, all around the state are opposed to it.
All right, guys, I should have booked you guys for the half hour, because there's so much more I want to ask you guys. But thank you both, Mr. Jones, Mr. Salazar.
Have us on again, TJ.
You know what? I actually might do that, guys. I hope you wouldn't be opposed to it, because there's so much more, including about driving. People have concerns about that, about driving under the influence of marijuana. That was a big issue as well I wanted to get into, guys. But thank you so much, and we will be in touch. Thanks so much this morning, all right?
No problem.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
All right. And again, we're talking about the idea as well of a possible major cash crop. Some are saying, well, it's going to be taking a look now at the potential economic impact when we come back. Stay here with us. 17 minutes past the hour.